Hi, and welcome to the SoCal Yearbook Gal Education Series designed to inspire, encourage, support, and make your life easier. This week, we are just going to touch just a little bit on distribution. So I know that some of you are not quite ready for that yet. Some of you guys are just like, yes, we have to start thinking about this because we don't want to stress out about it later. I just want to start the conversation at this point about distribution. We will be talking about it more later until distributions are over. But when it comes to distribution, right now we should start thinking about how you want it to look. And so we're just gonna like zoom out for a little bit. And I want you to think about how you want it to look. And I'll give you a couple of suggestions for ways that we've done it, that I've done it in the past, and other ways that I've heard people do distribution. But I want you to think, if you want to actually have everybody line up, what that's going to look like. So basically you can have, and I'll kind of again zoom out for you. You can either do a distribution where students have to go through lines and then their names are checked off of a list and you kind of go that route, or you can have them in a spot like a homeroom or the first period or something like that, where they are distributed by the teachers. Or you can do some sort of mix of that, or a place where students can come. So I had a university do that, where they just had one spot, and the kids, when they were ready, they just came in and they grabbed their book. It kind of depends. It makes more sense for a university to do it that way. But or if you have the books, in their case, it was a school where every student received a book, and so they just picked one up. In fact, I remember walking outside of the editor's office, and there was just like this big old stack of books, and they're like, grab your book. So but I realized that is definitely not how most schools do things. But let's kind of go back to the first scenario, where you have a large area where you have students come in. So if you can kind of picture this for me, you have a common area, and you have tables set up, and every table, it says, A through C for the last names, or, and D through F, and you just kind of like break it up that way all the way across the board. And then you have lists, and the students have to sign their name to show that they have received their books, and then you give that book to them. And I mean, that's one way of doing that. That does require a lot of organization. And so you'll have to say, okay, well, if your last name is this through this, then, this is where you're going to go. And then the students kind of go, and you can have them go by grade. You can have it, really similar to the way that they do pictures. You can kind of set it up that way. Just make sure that if you do it that way, where you're doing like a paper copy and you have, you're distributing that way, don't just have the student who's distributing kind of check it off. Actually have the student who's receiving the book sign their name, because you do want to have some sort of accountability, and you need to know that book was absolutely picked up by that student. It's kind of like when we were doing the pandemic distributions, and it's like, you don't have to have anybody touch your pen, but as they're coming through, write down their license plate number, and then you say, okay, this book was picked up by the student with this name in this car with this, and you have proof because you have their license plate number. So you can do something like that. That's if you're in the big group setting. If you're going to do it, and this was my personal preference, it's not going to work for everybody, but I had the yearbooks. We distributed the yearbooks to the teachers' classrooms the night before, and we put them in black garbage bags and put the stack. We had the instructions on the top, and I made sure that all the teachers knew how to distribute these books. We put the instructions on the top, and then and with the student list of all the students who should be receiving the books. The students walked into their first period class. All of the books were there. The teacher distributed. The kids got to talk a little bit about their books, put them away, get to work, whatever they needed to do. But that was so smooth because I got to do it the day before. There was like zero stress for me for distribution. So that's one way. You can tell by the way I'm talking that it's like that's my preference. But that is one of the two ways. Granted, if you have 3,000 students in your school, you're going to have to take that into account too. And then again, the last option is just handing the books out, and that would only really work if you you know, if every student in your school received a book, because then you just say, okay, come on in, we'll just check your name off, and then we'll say that you got a book. So again, we're just going to zoom out a little bit. We'll talk more in depth on how to do it each of those ways. If you guys have any suggestions that have worked for you, like, I know that there is a lot of knowledge here, and you guys are so incredible. You guys have like so much more experience than me in the grand scheme of things. And if you have a distribution, like a means of distribution that works seamlessly for you, please let me know so that I can then pass it on to everybody else, because we will be talking about distribution quite a bit over the next couple of months. So any suggestions, any help that you can offer to, you know, for the greater good would be really appreciated. So anyway, you guys, good luck. We're gonna figure this out. And it's gonna be great. But distribution shouldn't scare you, but at the same time, we need to be prepared for it. All right, good luck. Talk to you guys soon.